From the Mapleview Animal Hospital studios, this is the WHTC Morning News with Gary Stevens and Peg McNichol on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
Welcome back to the WHTC Morning News for this Thursday, October 15th. Thursday mornings, we chat on a regular basis with U.S. House Representative Bill Huizenga of R-Zeeland. And such is again the case this morning, although understandably, Bill, if you said, let's take this week off, I think we would have understood. Good morning, Bill.
Hey, good morning, Gary. Yeah, yesterday was not how I expected the day would go. That's for sure. So I'm feeling okay. Honestly, yesterday morning, on my way to go get this offsite test and how this works. Anytime you're within the bubble of the president or the vice president, I was supposed to be with the vice president yesterday. You have to take a rapid COVID test just to make sure you're in the clear. And unfortunately, that test came back positive. And I had no symptoms. I had no real feeling. The closest thing as I reflect back and look at it is it went through my mind yesterday morning. I wonder if I need a Claritin. And I opened the drawer and I didn't see one. And so I didn't go digging. I was like, oh, I'm fine. I really didn't feel anything. It was just maybe a little bit. I'm sure I'm not the only one in West Michigan in this time of year. They're getting a little allergies. And so I was very, very surprised, obviously, when that came back as a positive.
Now, the question is, you mentioned in your tweet yesterday that there's a second test that you needed to take. Where are we standing on that one? Yeah,
and unfortunately, Gary, that has now come back positive as well. So that was the confirmation. These rapid tests have a reasonably high false positive. They rarely go false negative, but they do go false positive. In fact, a number of my friends and colleagues have had that happen to them. But we have had it confirmed with the PCR test, which is that deep, very uncomfortable swab that you get to the back and that tracks the DNA of the COVID virus. And so, yes, that has been confirmed. So I'm continuing to do exactly what I did yesterday after getting my rapid test results, is isolating, separating myself. One positive thing about campaign season is I haven't been home much. So the medical professionals are very comfortable with my family not being infected. Unfortunately, I've spent more time with some key staff folks. So they have also been going through all the protocols, and we're just trying to be careful and use some common sense. And, look, this is something that has affected all of us in one way or the other. We've got a family member or a friend who has dealt with coronavirus. In fact, literally this morning, I heard from a friend who lost his grandmother in a care facility over on the east side of the state, and she unfortunately died alone. And she picked up. They believed she picked up the virus at the care facility. So, we've got to figure this out as a society. We've got to get this funding in place. Not just looking for the vaccine, but frankly, making sure we're doing the research that the protocols are the same. Because that was another little bit of a frustrating thing, is I heard lots of different opinions from medical folks yesterday that none of them were overly contradictory, but just how you deal with this. It's a very confusing and strange time, obviously.
Peg McNichol has a question from the WHTC newsroom. Good morning, Peg.
Good morning. First, I hope you get well soon. I know a number of people who've had it, including my ex-husband's niece, who was quite ill out in Boston with it. Here's the thing. We had 3 deaths last week in Ottawa County from COVID-19, and of course, they don't release details, so we don't know who that was unless people put it in an obituary. But you know people who've been ill. Garland Gilchrist says 24 people in his circle have died from it. Debbie Dingle, your colleague in the House, said had 12 friends die within about 6 weeks when this pandemic started. Do you think, though, this is what I hear here in Ottawa County, that people say, well, if you have a car crash, they call it COVID-19. Do you think the numbers that we see from the county and the state and the federal government are legitimate and accurate when they talk about people who've been diagnosed like yourself or people who have died?
There's Peg. Unfortunately, I have stories. I had a high school friend who she texted me saying she and her entire family tested COVID positive back in July. And then I guess it would be about 2 weeks ago now, her husband and one of her sons received a letter from the county health department saying that they had to isolate because their COVID test came back positive. And when she tried to contact the local health department, she couldn't get through. She literally texted me trying to help break through that. It took about 2 weeks. She was finally able to get in contact with someone, and the county health department sent a follow-up letter saying, sorry, that was our bad. We messed up on that one. We hear a lot of anecdotal stories like that. I don't believe that there is an intentional inflation of those numbers, or certainly those deaths. And frankly, what we've seen is hospitalizations as a percentage plunge, and part of that is, again, getting those protocols in place and making sure that people are getting proper care. But I'm at this point, there is no reason why I should be laying in a hospital bed, for example, right? So there, I believe that there are pockets or incidents of sort of a mistaken identity, kind of like what happened to my friend Brenda. Or I hope and pray that people aren't trying to juice the numbers one way or the other. I don't think that that's happening, because this is serious enough. And if people are trying to play, I'll say play politics or play numbers games with this, that does absolutely no good for anyone in this.
Bill, let me ask you one quick question. Because of what happened with your positive test, a scheduled debate with you and your challenger did not go off. Will you have an opportunity to exchange ideas with Mr. Berghoff, and whether or not this is going to have to be done virtually?
Yeah, unknown at this point, Gary. I was really looking forward to it. I mean, that quite honestly, sort of, really accelerated maybe the announcement yesterday. Not that we weren't going to do that, but I was, having one rapid test positive. Normally that wouldn't, kick off this whole series of events. And so I was getting asked a lot of questions that, frankly, we don't have the answers to, because it was less than 24 hours ago that I even got the rapid test results. So that is my intention. I was really looking forward to it. We had been prepping, and I believe I've got a record that I am enthusiastically able to support and defend and advocate for, and I look forward to that. Obviously, now with this situation of having to be isolated for somewhere between 10 and 14 days, that changes the equation a bit. Last night's debate was going to be in person by candidates being in the room together. Obviously, that isn't able to happen. The Grand Haven Tribune wasn't able to pull the technology together in a few short hours to be able to do that. We had been working with the City of Holland, and we've been working with the Kentwood, Wyoming Chamber of Commerce. Again, both of those were supposed to be in, quote unquote, in person or together. Obviously, I can't do that at this point, but absolutely hoping that we're going to find some platforms and venues to continue this dialogue.
There are two more things I need to ask you, and I want to step away from the COVID-19 situation that you are involved with, Bill. First of all, you were supposed to be with Vice President Pence. That's why you took the test for yesterday. And the president comes to Muskegon on Saturday. You will not be, of course, be there. Normally, the local Congress people usually are there when a president comes, even a campaign event or a non-campaign event.
Yep.
At least that's the protocol.
And either party. Now, obviously, a campaign event, that's not necessarily the case. But I have always had the policy on official business. Any president or any vice president, anybody like that coming, I'm at least offering to be a part of it. But sorry, didn't mean to.
Okay, but that's all right. The president's going to be in Muskegon. At least he's coming to West Michigan.
Yep. Yeah. In fact, this will be his first time in Muskegon. He had been to the Deltaplex a number of times during the campaign, and at one of those stops, I actually dubbed it the Donaldplex. That was he was spending a lot of time there. And then the last time he was in West Michigan was, of course, filling the Van Andel Arena. Gone are sort of those days. Getting an outdoor venue is difficult, and what has seemed to work quite well are these airport rallies. I tell you, some of those larger jets aren't stopping at Tulip City. But if you are familiar with Muskegon, they've handled commercial flights in the past. They've done the military air shows and that kind of thing. So they're well equipped for that, and I would expect that there's going to be a large turnout.
The other question is more of a congressional question, and that is dealing with another stimulus package. Stephen Mnuchin is saying doesn't look like there'll be one before Election Day. There's some pessimism about that. Your colleague in St. Joseph, Fred Upton, was positive about possibly getting something done this week with his problem solvers. Do you have a funny feeling that if there is going to be another stimulus package, it won't be until lame duck?
I don't think it will be, unfortunately. And I know Fred and the problem solvers have put a lot of time and effort into this. And I give even more credit to my Democrat colleagues who have been trying to push this with the speaker. She has been very clear with them. She believes that they will get a better deal after the election. Therefore, even though the White House has gone from $1 trillion, actually less than that originally, about $800 billion, to $1 trillion, to $1.6 trillion, to now $1.8 trillion. She is stuck at 2.4 and will not budge off of that, will not move off of that, will not have a conversation about that. There was at the time when we left Washington, there was something that called a discharge petition. We have $138 billion that was allocated under the Paycheck Protection Program that's been unspent. And this petition is to basically go around the speaker who is blocking that coming to the floor, and to force it to a vote on the House floor. 13 of my Democrat colleagues signed this discharge petition, many of them those problem solvers, because they understand that they're playing politics with this. And it is a piece of the puzzle, but it's an important piece of the puzzle as we look at the economic recovery that is bumping along. We've got to make sure that these small venues, these restaurants and catering areas, all of those small businesses are going to be given a chance to survive. And I'm afraid that is not the case right now. And without that help, I had been hoping that we would do this before we left Washington, D.C. I was hoping to come back during this October time frame. I don't see that happening, unfortunately, when we're 19 days out.
We had a little bit of when you were finishing your remarks about whether or not the COVID numbers might have been juiced up. We had a little issues here on our side, so I'm going to have a follow-up question on that. You mentioned about maybe the numbers being, shall we say, augmented a little bit with the COVID-19. Do you believe that that's really the case, or is that more of a case of perception than anything else?
Yeah, and I'm so sorry that you guys didn't get that entire answer, because I think the context of what I was saying and stop me if you heard this. This was a friend of mine from high school who called about this. What I said is that I hope and pray that nobody is playing, I'll say, politics or math numbers with this to try to drive a narrative. I don't think that is the case, that it is intentionally being done. We've checked into those rumors about, getting, quote, extra money if you're a healthcare facility, if it's a, quote, COVID case or death. That is not the case. Now, I can tell you that we're hearing more than anecdotally that basically batteries of tests are being run, partially because there's so little activity happening in these hospitals and their revenues drying up. In fact, the Wall Street Journal had an article this morning about the number of mammograms and other cancer screenings that have just plunged, and we're now seeing the effects of that. I hear from a number of folks where they're saying and that was the lawsuit, frankly, against the governor. That, by the way, was unanimous by the Supreme Court, not a split decision, unanimous. There was 2 decisions in one case, unanimous that she had overstepped her constitutional bounds. That was the unanimous part. The thing that was split was whether the 1945 law was constitutional or not. But that entire case was brought by a medical facility, Dr. Randy Baker out of Grand Rapids, who was seeing his patients literally dying because they could not get a, quote, elective surgery that was very, very important to have. And by the time they were able to declare it essential, these folks were too far along and had to either have greater, more extensive surgery or weren't able to have it and had other complications from it. So hopefully that filled in a little bit of that gap from the earlier glitch.
I appreciate that, and thank you for following up on that. Bill, we're going to button up this segment. We appreciate you spending some extra time with us this morning to talk about your situation, a couple of the issues as well. If all goes well, let's hope so. Let's do this again next Thursday morning. Thank you, sir.
I hope so too, Gary. All right, everybody be well.
Thank you very much. That's Bill Huizenga, the Congressman from Zeeland, on Real News Now, 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.